gaining a lot of knowledge because I've done more research specifically, and for this webinar, I also want to put on record that three very, very good law interns have helped me doing the research. So I have to thank Ratuja Dhotre, Aman Bhargava, and Pushpit Singh. They have been interning with me for some time, and they've done a lot of research for putting together the material for the webinar. And once the webinar is over, within 2 days' time, we will make sure all the PPTs, all the research materials, and the PDF files will be available to all the participants so that you can read. And we've got very good case laws. Also, there are 5 case laws which I want to focus on. We may not have the time in just this one and a half hours time, but I'll briefly touch upon the case laws, and you can at length look at and study all the case laws. So we are going to look at everything from the boys' locker room standpoint, right? But the idea behind this is that we are talking about cyber crime, cyber law, and with this at the backdrop, we have IPC 1860, we have POSCO, which is the Prevention of Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, we have POSH, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace, the IT Act 2000, the Evidence Act. So all these we cannot talk about, at least if you're talking from a legal standpoint, then we need to focus on all the laws which are there in our country. So we are not talking about newspaper articles or news channels reporting. So the incident that has happened, most of us are already familiar. We will not go into basic information, which I'm assuming everybody has access to news. But from there, what is the learning from an incident like this? And what do we do to prevent that things like this are not happening? And in case they happen, then what are the repercussions is something which we need to look at. Okay. I will also very briefly talk about Society of Legal Reforms and Education. It is a law society which was set up in 2012. It's been there for many years. In this law society, we conduct webinars, we conduct workshops, there are seminars, there are also law programs which are available to students on specialized courses like POSH, like M&A, mergers and acquisitions, on international arbitration, on financial laws for countries. So we have about 10 or 12 programs which are available, which students can do online also if required. And as a law practitioner, yes, I am practicing in the Supreme Court, and I'm the managing partner for Dayal Legal Associates. And I've been working, I've worked in India as well as overseas. So I've got a fairly broad perspective of being in the industry on the corporate side, as well as, because of travel and client relationships, about 10, 15 years. 15 years I've spent overseas, and about, balance of that, totally about 25 to 28 years of work experience, right? So, and I want to make it more practical. So everything I will talk about is not from the theoretical side that this is what the books say and this is what the law is, but also from the very practical side. So what happens actually at the ground, what is happening? Okay, how does the investigations happen? What is happening when the FIRs are filed? So for this particular case, we cannot speculate too much because I do not have access to the FIR, okay, which is the starting point. So we will take similar cases which have happened in the past as well, and we will see what all the outcomes have been. So that is how we will take this. I have a short PPT.
Before you start, I would actually request all the participants to put their videos on if possible, mute themselves, and also if any question, please direct it to either Neeraj sir or the Center of Excellence School of Law. That would be much easier for sir to address those questions. And also after the webinar, we are going to have around half an hour Q&A where I would request the people who have questions to raise their hand so that we could unmute.
Sure, that's absolutely great. So yes, Q&A has to be an important part of what we are doing today. But during the presentation, if something important is there, then definitely I would want Yashi to pick up that question then and there itself, because otherwise, it just depends. But I'm happy to do a short 30 minutes first, and then we have a short break in terms of a Q&A, and we take it from there.
Okay.
The whole idea is it's a live session, so the whole idea is to make it interactive, right? It should not be just one-way communication, which you already, in your classrooms, you're used to professors teaching and, they download information. But here it's not a question of downloading information. I'm wanting to interact. So the interaction is essential for me as well, right? So Yashi, you want to give any backgrounds to the case and to everything else, and then we take it from there?
So right now we are going to start with discussing about the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, and in relation with cyber law as well. Sir is going to talk about some basics of cyber law, some basics of Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, some case laws that might that are in relation to the current event of Boys Locker Room. The Boys Locker Room event took place on Instagram, where they had group chats about which were not decent and spoke ill about girls who were minors. So that's it for now, sir. You could start over. Thank you so much once again.
Sure, fantastic. So we will start off, and there are a couple of things which we, let's try to do it, because the information I have and we've worked on is very very vast. So, but rather than going into too much into depth on one particular topic, we will try to give you I'll try my best to give you an overview of what everything is about. So we will start off by POSH, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. And why I think we have to start off with POSH is because there are many laws and most of them are overlapping. Okay, so very briefly, we will look at the IPC, POSCO, POSH, the IT Act, and the Evidence Act also briefly. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with POSH, but the idea behind POSH is, can we have the slides also to start off with? So we can, you'll have some information on your screens as well. So the idea behind POSH has always been prevention. Okay, rather than just punishing somebody when the crime has been committed, the idea has been, in terms of prevention, that things like this should not be happening, right? So we will, so we can just go over, and this is a small slide presentation, and as we go along, I will discuss, and it will cover most of the topics which I will be referring to right now. Yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so for POSH Act, most of the time, POSH is being used for, I would say, it's at workplace. So as the name goes, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. So traditionally, workplace has always meant either your factories or offices or the corporate sector. But there is a very, very wide definition of workplace in the POSH Act, and also for that who all are included at the workplace. So workplace itself, the definition is very, very wide. Okay, so after 16 years of Ishaka, the sexual harassment of women at workplace, this act came into force in 2013, was enacted to protect against sexual harassment of women at workplace, right? And for the prevention and redressal of complaints of sexual harassment and matters connected therein or incidental thereto. Okay, but the POSH Act now, next slide please, will cover educational institutions as well. So the definition covers, and I also have the POSH Act with me, which later on I will leave. Once this webinar is over, we will also, all those who are interested, I will give you, you will provide access to all the acts as well. So then you can look at that the definitions, again, we are coming back, it's a legal provision. So why it is important is because educational establishments, whether schools, all schools, whether government, public or private, all educational institutions, colleges, universities are falling under POSH as long as they have more than 10 women working with them. So the women working could be professors, lady professors, they could be staff, they could be even people who are, even the lower staff in terms of, nursing staff or somebody who's taking care of cleaning. But as long as they are in the premises, they could be contractual workers, they could be trainees, they could be interns. So all of them are covered under POSH. So from this, the current incident which has happened, obviously we're talking about schools. Otherwise, POSH is normally being, one is looking at the corporate sector, as I mentioned. So, and also, there are obviously various sections. So first of all, that workplace definition is very clear. So it is any work, and in workplace, it is factories, it is offices, it is educational establishments, clearly are covered. It actually covers everyone who are over 18 years of age, right? But in schools, colleges, everybody is over 18. But in schools also, there are some students who may be just turning 18. Besides POSH, that is where the overlapping comes in. We also look at POSCO, which is prevention of children from sexual offenses. Because if somebody is a minor or not over 18, then what happens? So a combination of both these acts come into play, especially when it comes to schools, right? So Section 10 of POSH Act says on receiving the complaint, the committee before initiating an inquiry may take steps to settle the matter between the person and the respondent through conciliation, and when a settlement has arrived, no further inquiry is conducted in case a settlement is reached. Okay, next slide, please. And also, a very important part of POSH Act is that the ICC committee, the internal committee, next slide, please. The internal committee is comprising of people not, so the senior most management cannot control and influence the committees which are powerful, which is called the ICC committee. The committee can give certain interim relief to the aggrieved women during the pendency of the inquiry. But in a corporate, the managing director, directors cannot be part of the ICC committee. So it has to be a lady employee, a senior lady employee who may be from HR, may not be from HR. So HR is not really playing a critical role in the POSH ICC committees. It could be 50% of the members have to be women. They also have mandatory to have NGO person, a person from a non-profit organization, member of the ICC. The idea is that in case a crime is committed or there is a violation, there is sexual harassment by the senior management, also by the managing director, principal, senior person in the office or in educational institution, then even he or she is also coming under the POSH Act and can be punished and penalized, and inquiry may go against that individual also. Because usually people who commit such crimes are in powerful positions. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. So if there is a complaint at workplace or in a school or in a college, if there is a complaint, then within 10 days after completion of the inquiry shall provide the report of its finding to the employer and district officer of the concerned parties. Actually, POSH is such a large act that to give you a basic background, these slides may not be sufficient. But to give you an overview, POSH is there, prevention is mandatory. So first of all, the ICC committee has to be established in any organization, educational or corporate. And the committee members, their contact details, it is mandatory to be publicized all over the organization. That these are the 5 or 10 committee members. These are their contact numbers and their email IDs, and anybody, any girl or lady who feels that there wants to complain against any individual should be able to reach out to them confidentiality. And there must be workshops on a very regular basis to sensitize all the employees, boys and girls and management of every organization. This is the responsibility of the institution itself, which most of the time is not being done. Okay, it is not just that they have a policy on POSH and an ICC committee somewhere in a file which nobody knows about, no student is aware of it. It is the responsibility of the institution or the educational institutions or the corporate to enforce it and make sure that the workshops are conducted at regular intervals. In case any incident happens, then who are they supposed to report? Email IDs, mobile numbers must be displayed all over the institution, which is not being done. And there are penalties which the management of these institutions are responsible for. Next slide, please. So section 16 is very clear also. There's a prohibition on publication of the identity of the aggrieved women, respondents, even witnesses, contents of the complaint, inquiry proceedings, or recommendations of the committee, except information regarding the justice secured to any victim of sexual harassment. So one has to understand the identity of the aggrieved woman or girl and the respondent and the witnesses has to be kept completely confidential during the inquiry, okay, and afterwards as well. Difficult to implement, but this is the law. And POSH inquiries have to be conducted in a very in a manner which is absolutely, it is as if it is a small trial which is happening, to be conducted internally, where the head of the institution cannot play an active role. In fact, they are prohibited to be part of the ICC committee, and the committee is not taking instructions from the senior management. Senior management has to allocate a budget and also provide separate space so that the inquiries and meetings can be conducted within the organization, and it covers senior management as well. Next slide, please. So section 26 of the POSH Act clearly lays down the duties of the employer and the district officer under section 19 and 20 respectively, such as creating awareness on sexual harassment at workplace, sensitize the employees, assist the complaints committee in conducting the inquiry, enact upon recommendations of the committee, monitor timely submissions of reports of the committee. So what is also happening is that many a time, especially when it is coming to either students or even the corporate sector, there are, whether it's the BPO section or any other corporate, there are young employees, both men and women, boys and girls. Many a times they themselves do not know what is appropriate action and the way to behave in a formal working environment, so that they are not violating the POSH Act. So the onus and the responsibility lies with the management to ensure that the employees or the students are made aware of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, right? Many a times it is not just the women who have to know that they have a recourse in case somebody does something wrong with them or acts in an objectionable manner. The men and the boys need to be sensitized also that what you could do in the confines of your room at your home is different from what you could be doing in a classroom or in a public area, in an educational or a environment outside. And also to do with that, earlier on there were used to be cases of ragging in schools and colleges. Obviously it was completely banned in universities as well. But what has happened is, because of the social media, and everybody is on social media all the time, there is so much of cyberbullying, cyber crime which is being committed, and who is which laws are applicable and you cannot get away. And obviously, institutions can also not get away saying that, we have no control over it. So if the person is a juvenile, is less than 18, then the parents or the guardians are responsible. Universities and schools also cannot just shirk away from their responsibilities of maintaining discipline, both physically in their schools, and also they may be responsible for actions which may be committed from one student to the other student. Because we will be talking about criminal negligence. So this is where the IPC will start coming into the picture, as well as the Indian Penal Code 1860. So POSH may, and as we go along, we'll realize that in POSH the penalties are not very strong. They are basically financial penalties. But in conjunction with IPC and the IT Act, we have very, very powerful laws in India. Many people think that, oh, Indian laws are not very good. We are, not, developed countries have better laws. But I think our Indian laws are absolutely some of the best in the world. The problems which we face are times are at the implementation stages, or the execution and the time taken to implement the laws could be a problem. But we have sufficient laws to book people who are breaking the laws and violating the rights of other people in the society. Next slide, please. Yeah, next one, please. So POSH itself, actually, the problem with POSH, little problem I will say, is that the maximum penalty is 50,000 rupees fine for the institution if they are not following POSH properly within their organization. So many a times, educational institutions and corporates feel that, okay, we can, we have financially, we have no problem. 50,000 rupees is not such a big deterrent for them. But they fail to realize that in case a crime is committed at the workplace, which could be, and the workplace definitions are very, very clear in POSH, and that students also are coming under the definition of a worker. Okay, what is the definition of an employee? And the students are also included in it. That if there is a crime committed, then anybody who is committing the crime or who could have prevented, and then we are talking about criminal negligence. That are you deliberately overlooking the fact it's like a ragging incident which could happen in the uh, at an educational institution in the hostel. Okay, the head of the institution cannot say that, after 5 p.m. I don't know, I'm not in my college. What happens in the college hostel is not my problem. It is directly their responsibility. Similarly, even if there is a cyber crime which is being committed from one student to another, and if they are not doing anything to prevent such acts, so there is a provision where they could be held responsible, and including parents of guardians and guardians if the children are less than 18 years. And then POSCO Act also comes into the picture, Prevention of Children, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Okay. So just to give you a backdrop, obviously, because the global nature of the internet, it is difficult to control the contents being uploaded in foreign countries and being viewed in India. So, cyber law and the IT Act specifically talks about all these issues because it is cross-border. Somebody is uploading content in US or any other country, but we have access on our mobiles, on our laptop. We can view whatever is available. Okay, and whether a person is over 18 or less than 18 has access to all kinds of information, material, movies, pictures. And as we go along, we will discuss more of these. Let us get more technical on this. Next slide, please. So I think we had briefly discussed this subject as well. So in 2015, there is a landmark judgment holding the right to free speech in recent times. The Supreme Court Okay, there is a case of Section 66A of the Information and Technology Act 2000. So the IT Act, we talk about freedom of expression and speech, that this is my phone, I can take my picture or I can take my friend's picture. Can I upload it? Can I tag somebody else on that, whether it is Facebook or Instagram? And different countries have different rules for this. So we will mainly be talking about Indian laws, but because the nature of, of cyber law itself is global, okay, we have to look at laws of other countries also. And most of these portals are also, whether it is Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, are not companies which are based in India or they may have offices in India, but nearly all of them are controlled out of the US or America. So, Indian government, how much direct control we have over them? Are they responsible for the content or not? We will, in the next few minutes time, we will go over and discuss all these as well. So also we have Section 69A, which authorizes the government to block any content from being accessed by the public on various grounds. An intermediary who fails to comply with directions to block content is liable to be imprisoned up to 7 years. This is Section 69A of the IT Act. Now, obviously, we have also seen recent cases where there could be, rights have been there. There are various other issues where objectionable content is put up, could be on religious, could be on caste, communal rights could take place, inciting public. So the government very clearly has the power to remove anything or and or to request for the removal of that information. And if not done, the the penalties are very, very severe, 7 years of imprisonment. Okay. Most of the international platforms, they cooperate with the agencies in India and all the other countries. If the government writes to them, definitely they take action and they can block the account. They can deactivate anybody's account. But then one has to go into more details that it is not done on an arbitrary manner. And what happens if they refuse to comply with the government agencies? What are the how does the government also can they actually control them? So those are things which make it a little bit more complex. Yeah, can we go ahead, please? Yeah, so Section 79. Yeah, next one, please. Yeah, okay. Now let us come to where the acts have more power. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about the Indian Penal Code 1860. Okay, because although the act itself is a very old one, but the provisions are all there for punishments. The way we communicate with everyone, next slide please, the way we communicate with our friends, our colleagues has changed. Earlier on, it was all, we used to write letters, then the emails came in, then the telephone landlines were there, now we have mobile, but we also have all the social messaging tools. So from Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, all of them are there. Only thing is the communication method has changed, but the law and the punishment pretty much are still applicable. Okay, so without the IPC has what we call the teeth in the act, which should act as the deterrent for somebody. Okay, POSCO is very powerful. POSH also to some extent. IT Act also has a lot of powers in the IT Act for punishment. Anywhere punishments from 6 months to 3 years, 5 years, 7 years of jail term. But the IPC itself is the act which many a time, which sections are applicable, that is where complexities sometimes come in. And even the enforcement agencies sometimes are not very sure as to which sections to use and how will they prove it. And also we have to look at the Evidence Act also, because if if a alleged crime has been committed, obviously everybody is innocent till they are proven guilty. We all know that basic fact. But then how will it be proven in the courts? Because the inquiries could be done at the investigation can be done by the enforcement agencies. But then finally, the FIR could be filed also at that stage. Like in this particular case, the FIR has already been filed. But finally, it will go to the courts, right? And in the court, we have to establish through the Evidence Act how do we connect the crime which has been conducted by the person who has been implicated in the FIR. Okay, so the term cybercrime is not defined in any statute or rule book. So cybercrime itself, we keep talking about. These are terms that we are using many a time, but from a legal point of view, we have to look at which act, which section, and if we cannot connect it, then it is, then the whole point, then it just becomes a social discussion for news reporters and TV channels. So we need to talk from a legal standpoint itself, and in terms of if can a crime be prevented to start with? That is the biggest and the major challenge which we are looking at. How can we stop crimes from happening? Okay, what can institutions do? What can individuals do? What can parents do? What can friends do for each other to prevent a crime? Second part is, if a crime has been committed, then one should definitely ensure that the law takes its full course and the person who has done the crime is punished and penalized to the full extent of the law, so that it also acts as a deterrent for other people to not do something, because this sets as an example that if you do this crime, if you will jump the red light, you will automatically be challaned for 1,000 rupees. Okay, and if you let one person go, then the other person go, then it becomes like nobody wants to follow the law. And cybercrime is we're reaching a level where we are just discussing one side of it. But cybercrime also for financial crime, these are one of the fastest growing segments. And financial institutions, identity theft, data theft, we are grappling with it right now. And as the use of internet is increasing, in a country like India, cybercrime is also shooting at very, very high levels. Although the government of India, we do have cybercrime units, we have very, very good, well-trained officers, but that number is still very, very less. And continuous education is required for them also to increase their own knowledge and their own skill sets to battle with this rising crime. Yeah. Yashi, are you there right now? Is this okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's going good.
Okay, we can continue. Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So section 378, we will talk about the section 378 of the IPC is relating to theft of the immovable property. Will apply to the theft of any data online or otherwise. Section 22 of the IPC states that the words movable property are intended to include property of every description except land and things attached to the earth or permanently fastened. So obviously, cyber law is dealing with all sorts of crime. Right now, we are focusing more on sexual harassment and crimes which have been committed in terms of somebody clicking somebody's picture without their knowledge and authority and uploading it for the rest of the world. Right. So, under which sections, what is applicable? We are coming to that. Next slide, please. And stolen property. So the way one can physically break into somebody's home and steal goods, cash, money. Similarly, you can also be breaking into somebody's computer through the, breaking into their passwords or taking their photographs or making videos without their permission. So there is obviously the element of unauthorized usage and what will amount to theft also one needs to look at from this section 411. Next slide, please. Like we also have, yeah, next one, please. Yeah. So, okay, besides this, we also, I've just made a list of few other sections which come into. So, from in IPC, very, very quickly, I'm just going to quickly run through. So, we have section 465, which is on forgery. 471, forged document in electronic record. You may not find these on the slides, but I'm speaking to it from my documents which I have, and maybe I'll make them available to you after the session. So, we have forgery in the IPC, but when it comes to information and technology, the IT Act, so publishing or transmitting obscene material in electronic form. That is section 67, 67A, publishing or transmitting material containing sexually explicit acts in electronic forms. Punishment is up to 5 years and a fine up to 10 lakhs. Okay. Section 354C is voyeurism. Punishment, imprisonment of 1 to 3 years and a fine for subsequent convictions, imprisonment of 3 to 7 years. Stalking, section 354D, punishment, imprisonment up to 3 years and a fine. So people say, oh, we don't have laws in our country. I'm talking to you about the laws. Stalking need not only be when somebody is following you physically, but also if they're trying to stalk you on the web, on your Facebook, on Insta, or so in the cyber law, look at it, imprisonment up to 3 years just for stalking. People need to understand and wake up what powerful laws we have in our country. Both, so women need to understand that they are strong enough if they take up the matter, if there has been a violation of their rights, they've been harassed, the other person will go to jail for 3 years. And boys and men need to also understand and be very, very careful of what kind of actions they are doing and what are the repercussions. They're saying we did not know this, will not help them. If it's 3 years jail or 7 years jail, they will land up in jail. And through IP addresses, we have very sophisticated technologies these days. People cannot, just say that, oh, I never did this or I was not doing this. Convictions are also happening at a fast rate. Okay, we have defamation, punishment, imprisonment of 2 years for defaming a woman online. This is section 499. Section 503 is criminal intimidation, punishment, imprisonment of 2 years for threatening a woman by either alarming or maligning her reputation. So all these are all part of the IT Act. Okay, so IT Act is very critical. All these sections are very clear, very, very powerful. In association, when we use it with the IPC, this is where people need to fully understand that we have the laws. They have, and many a times we have also noticed that people are not standing up. Everybody, a lot of times, the parents, or if they are minor or if they are young adults, that they are asked to brush things under the carpet because of lots of, what will the society members say, what will parents say. But I think people need to stand up, especially women need to stand up for themselves, take action, do not accept or tolerate anything which there is no need for you to tolerate. Complain, you can file complaints online, you can obviously you can register complaints online as well, but required, and your identity will be hidden and will not be, and there is a lot of penalties in case somebody reveals the identity of that person. Like I mentioned earlier, could be 3 years of jail for somebody who is revealing the identity of the person. Okay, because if somebody is as we say, a survivor, so the law protects them fully. And next slide, please. Can we quickly go over?
Sir, we have a question that talks about, as you know, most of the cyber crimes happen due to breach of data security. This
Right.
domain, which budding lawyers must empower themselves to be professionally successful. Can we discuss upon this?
Yeah, sure. So,
Breach of data security.
yeah, data security definitely. Quickly, can I just finish this short slide quickly, and then we can take this up?
Yes, sir, sure.
Okay, can we finish the slides, please? We just have a few more. Yeah, so we're talking about the POSCO Act, child pornography, because obviously many a times in schools also and young adults, um, obviously they're treated as an adult once they are 18 years and above, but heinous crimes have been committed by younger people as well. In the Nirbhaya case, we have seen this. So somebody could be 16 or 17 also, and may have committed that crime. So Supreme Court rulings have also come in that if they could, on a case by case basis, if they have actually committed a heinous crime, they may be convicted as an adult, even if they are not 18 years old. So, so law is also, honorable judges are also taking a very practical view of it. Okay, it is not that if somebody is 17 years old, then whatever crimes they can get away with and not be punished because they are not over 18. So things are changing, and it is the interpretation of the law which is critical to what we are doing. So Section 1415 of the POSCO Act is on child pornography, and the penalties are also, because what is happening is in this particular case, the use of child pornography purposes, which covers photos of their sexual organs, or these are indecent and obscene representation, is an offense under Section 14 of the POSCO Act. Even the storage of any pornographic material involving a child to share it is an offense under Section 15. The sharing of mocked and real images of underage girls, even in the boys' locker room group, would be a violation of these provisions. So punishment, imprisonment of 5 years or more and a fine under Section 14, and imprisonment up to 3 years and a fine under Section 15. So just to quickly finish this off, and then we'll come up to our Q&As. Yeah. Do we have? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So can we just switch off the slides now? Yeah, great. Yes, Yashi. So, yeah, there was a question. Can you just quickly repeat this?
Yes, sir. So the question was, the breach of data security is one of the major domains of cyber crimes. So
Right.
would this, how can the budding lawyers take care of this to have to be successful in their professional career?
Okay, wonderful question. So I think there are a lot of law students here in this group, although we do have, I know, some lawyers also. There's some people maybe from the judiciary side also, and from the corporate sector as well. But yes, for lawyers, I think this is the fastest growing field in which I think maximum opportunities will be coming up. First of all, the acts are relatively new, okay? And all new youngsters understand technology much better than people like us in my age group and my generation, right? So for the millenniums, I think cyber law is one of the best fields to specialize in, because the field is fast growing, and the biggest and the maximum disputes are coming up also in this area. We have e-commerce, okay? Whether it is data breach, you also need to ensure the volume and value of transactions happening from the traditional model is all shifting to now online model, right? It is not just during this lockdown that it is happening. That is a massive shift from physical malls. Everything is shifting to going online and buying, whether it is on Amazon or Alibaba or Flipkart. Transactions over the next few years are all going to shift there. So where do you think the disputes will shift? Obviously, will all be about the IT Act. It will all be about what we've just been talking about. Yes, in association, maybe overlapping IPC, but the IT Act is something which I will suggest all of you not just study it. If you, I'm sure you have it in your course syllabus, but the practical side of it, specialize in it, data prevention, identity theft, both at the corporate level as well as personal level. So there is huge, both on the civil side and criminal side. So huge opportunities on the corporate sector as well as on the litigation side. You name it, and I think the future is somebody who, just looks at IT Act as just a simple, one more field of law and one more, vertical in law is completely mistaken. I think 90% of what we are doing, even real estate transactions, will very soon start happening where the IT Act will come into the picture. We will have online agreements. We are already having, the shift is already happening, but even in large transactions like real estate, escrow accounts, things are changing in India. I'm not talking about just universally 100%, but in India. So if you specialize in cyber law, you will be in demand not just in India but globally as well, because IT acts of US, Singapore, UK, UAE not very difficult to understand. Okay, if you're a lawyer, you can study Indian law. You will not have a difficulty in studying laws. They also have acts like we have. Okay, everything is available on the net. Okay, so understanding cross-border work is huge in cyberspace because the companies are somewhere else, clients are somewhere else. You could be in India, but the companies you're fighting with could be somewhere else. So understanding international law is also critical. And best scope for young lawyers is to focus on cyber law and cyber act. And besides that, if you hone in your skills, so you can get into the advisory side, you can get into litigation, you can work with large law firms, you can set up your independent practices, you can help startups get into it in the pharmaceutical industry, in the IT, technical, financial services. IT is the backbone. And law is obviously fundamental to whatever contracts which we are doing. So specialize on this, and I think the best paying jobs and the best clients you will find who will need help in cyber law side. And the advantage is that most of the senior professionals, people who have been in industry for 30 years, they are new themselves to technology. Sometimes they themselves, except for specialists, do not understand IT Act. It's still a relatively newer act, just came in 2000, right? So go for this specialization. Yes. Yashi, I hope I've been able to answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We have another question.
Yeah, because I have a lot of material, so I can, as I'm speaking to you, this topic we can spend 5 hours and it'll still be unfinished work in today's webinar, because we can go also into all the act and case laws, but let's make it interactive. That's the whole idea. So can we have some students asking some questions?
Yes, whoever wants to ask questions, I request them to please raise their hands. Until then, sir, we have a question. Do
Yes,
any legal implications follow if a person publishes obscene or sexually implicit conversation exchanged between two or more persons privately?
I'm losing you, Yashi. Hello. Can you hear me? Neeraj Part?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, but I think I've lost Yashi.
Hello?
Yeah, Yashi, I think your internet connection is a little bit slow, I think. But
Yes,
can
sir.
you just complete
Yes, sir.
your...
I'll repeat the question again. Do any legal implications follow if a person publishes obscene or sexually implicit conversation exchanged between two or more persons privately and consensually?
Yeah, any private conversation is happening. Is two people, it could be a phone call, it could be a email, it could be a WhatsApp chat. But if it is two people and you're saying they're both consenting, but it is obviously, if you will make it public, okay, even because the person who's in conversation with you has not been told that you will make it public. So the moment, so IT Act clearly will violate your rights are absolutely being violated at that stage. Whether it is sexually explicit conversation or not does not matter. I am having a conversation with you, okay? Obviously, assuming and understanding that it is between you and me, and suddenly you make that whole conversation live on social media or other places where anybody and everybody has access to it, you have violated my rights. Did you have my written consent before publicizing it? No. And then if obviously, yeah, how serious is the offense? I may never get to know about it. Will I file a complaint? Is it cognizable, or will the authorities automatically act on it? That is a different matter altogether. But yes, you have broken the law very clearly.
Thank you so much, sir. Subha, I'm going to unmute you now. You can kindly ask your question.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. First of all, thank you for this amazing presentation. I just had one question that some of the women-centric laws in our country, such as the marital rape, like laws for marital rape, are not being introduced just because of its scope of misuse, right? So there is also scope for misuse of POSH law and other cyber laws which are there to uh, protect the privacy and prevent women from getting harassed online or cyberbullying. So, sir, what is that scope of misuse and how can that be avoided?
Yeah, so obviously every law will have the other side also, and it is happening. Yes, little misuse could happen, but then there is a clause where if somebody is misusing it and falsely accusing somebody, then up to it's a very simple in Posh it is up to 6 months of imprisonment. Uh, I have to double check this, but in case somebody falsely accuses, but the problem is that 99% of the genuine cases also I would say are not being reported. Okay, so just because that one person may be coming up with a false accusation, we cannot discount and assume that the 99% of genuine women who are being harassed at every stage, whether it is physical harassment in public buses, trains, at workplace, is very, very serious. That number is very large. I know so many people who I know for sure they consulted me, but they finally did not file cases because they felt that they still have to work in that organization. They still have to, you know, that person they may still, because usually that person is in a more powerful position. Okay, it could be your professor, it could be your headmaster, it could be your usually your boss or your colleague. So I think, Subha, we have to accept the fact that the women have to be protected. The prevention mechanisms have to be there. Yes, 1 out of 100, if somebody falsely accuses somebody, then yes, they will be penalized also, and they will be cautioned that it should not be happening. But because of that fear, if women are made to not come out and and uh, uh, and file complaints, I think that will be a sad day. So I think we should all encourage all women to not tolerate anything at all. Absolutely, file complaints wherever they feel that, because the problem also does come in. How will they prove it? Is there evidence? Are there witnesses? is, has it been recorded? But because of technology, we can record conversations, we can record sessions, so evidences and IP addresses can be traced very easily. Who sent the email can be tracked easily, so conviction rates can be much higher now. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. So
Yeah.
there's another question. How can one person, prevent or take care of themselves and make sure that something like this does not happen with them? Like what precautions that should one person take in relation to privacy?
Yeah, see, I'll tell you what is happening. That yes, you have to take precautions. We all understand whether it is a financial crime which is being committed. Here we're talking about for women and girls. Obviously, you have to first of all take care that your username and passwords are carefully protected. You do not use them carelessly. Do not go to cyber cafes or share your passwords with friends. And so those protection you have to be cautious about it. But beyond that point, I think it is stalking, it is cyberbullying which is happening. And it's like saying that women should stay at home after 9 o'clock because, if they go out, they're asking for trouble. I'm absolutely against that theory. I feel that women should continue to do what they're doing. And in case they find somebody who is following them, stalking them, inappropriate action, any kind, any person should be reported. And it is only by reporting and taking action will this thing will be reduced. Rather than saying that we need to take more precaution, we need to stay indoors, we need to not share our pictures. I don't think so. I think you should continue to live the life you want to live. Okay. So it is not that you are doing, it is the boys and the men which are crossing the boundaries, and they need to be punished severely, and nothing should be brushed under the carpet. And I think women also should stand up more and more, because once they will stand up for themselves, the authorities will help them, the law will be on their side. We punish the persons who have done those things, will set an example. Otherwise, we are encouraging people, because you feel, oh my God, nothing, nobody does anything to me. I am above the law, nobody goes after me. So we are actually encouraging people who are into cyberbullying, who are doing all such acts. So deterrent, even in this particular case, strong punishment, convictions should happen, and they will happen. Okay, it should be a complete deterrent. So that is how, these are my personal views. And I think young women and ladies must understand what the law is. And it's even, it's surprising that most of the lawyers themselves are not totally familiar with these things. And what are the chances of somebody who's illiterate or somebody who's not studying law? What is their awareness level? So it is the onus on students of law, on lawyers, on corporates, on educational institutions to educate the society and all these stakeholders, whether they're students, they're teachers, they're employees. Everybody should be made aware of what is right, what is not right, what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, what the law is. So basic understanding of law, I think it is mandatory for every individual in this society. And we must fully understand our, yes, our duties also, but also our rights, which if violated, there is severe penalties which will be taking place then. All right.
So much, sir. We have one more question. What,
I have actually few cases also if you want, but let's take the questions and then I
sir?
will give some
After
of the.
this case, we could after this question we could start
Yeah,
on.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
The question is, what was the intent behind the introduction of settlement and conciliation in POSH for a criminal offense like sexual harassment?
Yeah, actually, what is happening is, okay, if you really want to understand why something like this has happened, if you look at, we have litigation. I'll give you a broader view and overview. Then most of us who are into litigation, I think the more important part, and now the focus has been on, even if we talk about commercial matters, let's say, okay, it is not that you fight with each other and who will win and who will lose, but the idea for business is also that can be reconciled. Can the businesses go on? Are the differences so wide that they cannot be settled, as we say, out of court? So that is also happening in uh, uh, it is happening in corporate matters, it is happening in business matters, even in matrimonial matters. Before you two people say that we want to divorce, it is basically because they feel they cannot get along with each other. The first route to be looked at is that, can we look at the is there a way to reconcile and mediate? Okay, so similar in terms of philosophy, something similar is there for Posh also. That is there a way, only if the person wants to settle, it is like an option. Would you want to press charges? Are you sure you want to go ahead and do it? Will you make a written complaint? Absolutely. It is the choice is with the person who has been aggrieved, that lady or the girl. So if she wants, she could say, fine, if it's something minor, she could say, yes, I will take a written apology in writing. It will not happen, but I will put it on record, but the inquiry will not happen. Okay. But if she feels, no, I want to take the full weight of the law and make a formal complaint, nobody can stop her. The ICC committee's role is mandated. They have to go ahead, do the inquiry, and take action, appropriate action. And if not, then the ICC committee members themselves are breaking the law, and they will be penalized, and they will have very severe penalties as per the POSH Act. And also that besides POSH Act, nobody is stopping. In fact, one could maybe the organization, institutions, corporates are actually supposed to encourage the individual people to file a complaint, a formal complaint, even in an FIR can be filed, or go to the closest police stations, and the provisions of IPC are also there for them. In fact, the organizations are supposed to help them also. So besides POSH, it's not that the only thing you can do is POSH and nothing else. POSH is just one of the remedies. IPC is still available to them. Go outside and you can do both of them simultaneously. All right.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that is explained. Okay. Yes. What else?
So you could go ahead with the cases that you.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So a couple of very interesting cases are there, and I will have them available also for some of you to, because like you said, what should we do and what we should not do. So there is a very, couple of two cases which I'll quickly go over. One is Ranjit Udeshi versus others in the state. So this is a Bombay High Court case. Very briefly, it was a test of, I have about a couple of pages on this, but I will try to make it very brief. In this case, the petitioner and three others who were partners of a bookstall known as Happy Bookstall, situated at Bombay, has been booked under Section 292 of IPC for sale and possession of copies of a highly controversial novel. Okay, so this was more to do with what is appropriate, what is controversial, who is to decide what is controversial and objectionable. There is another matter which is of K. Abbas in the Union of India. Okay, it is on a short film made by Mr. Abbas, where he wanted a U certificate, and the censor board was giving them an A certificate, and adults only, because it was on how do you define what is obscene and what is not obscene, right? So what could be obscene for someone may not be obscene for the other person. Okay, so that is where law is not 100% in black and white, and that is why we have litigations and we have cases, because yes, the principles of law are well laid down, but when it comes to implementation, there is always two sides of the coin or two sides of the story, right? And that is where the investigation process is important, whether it is by ICC members of the POSH committee, or it is by the investigation authority, by the IO, the investigating officer of the police department, who will investigate. Like currently in this particular case of the boys locker room case, it is at the investigation stage, although the FIR has already been filed. I do not have access to the FIR copy, so we do not know exactly what sections, but it is in the investigation stage, and more sections may be added on in future. And once the investigation is over, the full facts come in. That is when the charge sheet will be filed. And as you know, the process is there. Once the charge sheet is filed, it will go to the courts. Arrests have already been made. But again, the issues of who is under 18, who's over 18, what is coming under POSCO, what is coming. POSH has not really been. POSH, I think, is more important, because in future things like this do not happen. And I think all educational institutions, all schools, all colleges in India must uh, seriously start implementing POSH. And it is the responsibilities of the senior management, board of directors of colleges, institutions, principals. Otherwise, they will land into trouble, and they would be liable if they do not implement the POSH Act in their organizations. Okay, so we have quite a few cases, and all of them are to do with cyber act, cyberbullying, uh, objectionable material with unauthorized content. Can you take somebody's picture and post it, like we just briefly discussed that without your authority, can we take up a regular picture and just post it? Like in UAE, is very clear. In Dubai, if you even tag somebody in your post, you will go to jail for 6 months, and that person comes in 6 months minimum, just by tagging somebody in a Facebook post without their permission. So then country-wise, we have to look at what is the rule in India, because everything it is to do with Facebook. And we should also be looking at right now the content providers, what all agreements we have signed online. Okay, we're talking about cyber law. When we set up our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram accounts, nobody has read. Yes, we do a tick mark and say yes, I accept all the terms and conditions. What all have we given away? Whatever post pictures we have posted, who has access to it? By putting our own post just for our friends, and then somebody using, can the portal also be made responsible? And yes, these are ongoing battles which is going on. There are thousands and numerous cases going on in most countries against all these institutions and big organizations, whether it is Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or WhatsApp. Because just because they are registered in some third countries, they cannot completely say, if you don't like my portal, then leave it. Okay, deactivate your account. That is not the case. They have to be responsible, and laws, they can be prosecuted in India as well if they do not comply, if they do not close those accounts, do not cooperate with the enforcement agencies. They will be brought to book. Arrest warrants will be issued. LOCs will be issued through Interpol. They would get even arrested in their home country if they were not to comply. And that is why all of them are complying with all the authorities the moment it is given out, because that information is not being stored in India. Indian authorities do not have access to it. So, serious issue, and laws are powerful in India, and uh, even if they don't have offices, does not matter. Okay, the clients are in India, and the crimes are being committed either here or even in an international cyber arena. But people have to, finally, it has to be with national laws. So what point I'm trying to make is that Indian laws are really powerful, and we have the best acts and the best laws. Only thing is, people feel that the process is slow and difficult, but now things are changing. You can make online FIRs can be filed online. You can make complaints online. Your identity is definitely going to be not revealed to anybody. There is protection. So I think standing up for your rights, I think, is the fundamental question here.
Thank you so much, sir. Mani,
Yes.
I'm going to unmute you now and you can ask your question.
Yes, Mani.
Am I audible?
Yes, please. I can hear you.
Okay. Sir, as you mentioned earlier, if there is a private conversation between two people and one of them publishes it online or it is in public domain, that is a violation of their rights. So, in the case
Right.
of boys' locker room, where the conversation was happening in a group, which is a private conversation, and someone else leaked it, so can they take the defense of right to privacy?
Okay, I would not want to comment on this particular case, ongoing investigation going on. So we will look at a hypothetical similar case, let's say, right?
Absolutely.
So let us not comment on this particular case, although I'm not the legal attorney for any of them, but but little bit more. So we're talking about a WhatsApp chat, are we talking about, or Instagram? Which handle are we talking about right now? Hypothetically. Can you unmute her, please? Yeah.
Sir, conversation on any social media platform, it could be WhatsApp, it could be Instagram, just in a private.
Yeah,
Uh,
when you see, when you say private, it's like, yes, two people or a group is having a conversation, right? Now you could put pictures there. Yeah, assume any platform. It could be Facebook, again, Instagram, any platform, including WhatsApp, right? Now you are giving your information to somebody, right? Now, if that person, without your permission, okay, is sending it across to anybody else besides themselves, that itself starts off as a violation of your rights, whether it is a conversation or a picture. You may put your own picture on Facebook and say, I wanted to put, but nobody else has a right, whether you open it for public or not, that is your decision. But if other people start sharing it without your consent, that is a violation of your right, actually. So even, and what is happening is people are taking, everybody's trying to pass on the buck that, okay, it's not my responsibility. The institutions are saying it's not our problem because it's the platform's problem. Platform is saying we have no access to content. Who puts what? We have. So everybody's trying to pass on the buck. But it has to stop somewhere, right? Because where your rights are being violated, who has done this? And also the fact that many a times once these accounts get deactivated, that information is not being stored, at least not in India, right? So how do you prove if actually something was done or not done? So actively the platform request, and they are actively cooperating also in this. Do you have a follow-up on this?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. But only thing is one has to be very, very careful when you're putting up whom you're friends with. I think one needs to, I think self-governance is something which I will suggest to people. If you don't know somebody, then don't make friends with them. Don't put up pictures, protect your passwords, be a little extra cautious. It's like you don't keep your house open, right? You will lock it when you go out in the evening for a walk, or if you go to work or go to college, you will lock your front door, right? You will not leave it open. Similarly, here also take as much protection you can to ensure that your identity, your passwords, and you do not have, it's like on a need to share basis. Why do you want to put out more information about yourself, which, and your accounts could be hacked also. So the other problem is data theft. And that is where we come again to the IPC section, that somebody could obviously log, and we are talking about, personal issues here, but look at all our money, everybody's money is in the bank, nearly everybody um, has a online banking account. And what happens? Somebody hacks into your Gmail ID, and your phones could be stolen as well, so numbers, and you couldn't block it, and crores of rupees and billions of dollars globally are being siphoned off by cyber criminals. And sometimes the financial institutions are also saying, oh, you did not take precautions or enough precautions. So the onus and responsibilities to a large extent is ours to ensure that we are acting in a responsible manner. And obviously, the liability of the institutions, platforms cannot be taken away also. So, and we are actually in an environment where things are changing rapidly. The laws have been the same, but Supreme Court of India, Honorable Supreme Court of India, or other cases are being decided in India and globally, and that is setting the precedent of how are we interpreting the laws. Hope I have given you some clarity.
Thank you so much, sir. We have one more question. In case
Yes,
a man is harassed and threatened by a woman to file a false case, what are the remedies provided in favor of the man?
no, I think anybody who has a genuine complaint should never fear that we'll threaten you, that it's a false case and all that. So first of all, let us be clear. If you're honest in what you're doing, and obviously law, at the end of it, investigations happen. Sometimes they could be a little slow, sometimes they may take some time, there could be some influences, but if you are in the right, I don't think anybody should have any fear of going to the authorities, that it will be misinterpreted. Do not succumb to social pressures, do not succumb to pressures from even within your family, and even if it is your friend who is doing something, take action, because otherwise you are encouraging it and you are being part of the problem. Okay, so just because it has to be proven, right, that it was a completely false case. So usually what is happening is, idea is that if there is talking or if somebody is threatening you, then record them. So have evidence, because finally the investigating authorities or the courts will say, so what is the evidence? How can you, it's your word against somebody else's? In an ideal situation, have some kind of a proof. If somebody is threatening you on phones, record that conversation. I tell people that you have a voice recording facility on your phone, use it. Or if somebody is coming to visit you, you can switch on your, laptops have cameras. So because the moment you get evidence, then it becomes a foolproof case. Okay, we will ensure that convictions will take place. Okay, nobody can influence anybody if there is strong evidence here. And evidence, if somebody is stalking you, then obviously if there is a witness, but if you have online evidence is the best. If somebody sent an email to you, save that email within a reasonable time, do the complaint. Stalking, cyberbullying, it's easy. Take pictures of it, whatever somebody has written. Okay, even if they delete their accounts, they cannot go back. Okay, they could delete their account, but IP addresses will be tracked, mobile numbers easily with whether it's Airtel or Jio, everybody will cooperate immediately with police authorities. So file, lodge your complaints. The cyber cell units are all online. Just do a Google for cyber complaint. The website is there, and the officers are trained, and they're good at what they do. Okay, so do not feel that complaints will not be will not be investigated. They will be investigated. Okay, so cybercrime units are there. You have specialized officers who are trained in cyber law, and they attend courses. In fact, in the judiciary also, a lot of training is going on, even on an ongoing basis, because many of them are senior professionals who may not understand how technology works. Okay, so I hope this is I've been able to respond to your query.
Yes, sir. We have one more question. Whether the reconciliation provision under the Act, I'm assuming it's the POSH Act, is diluting the very essence of the Act.
No, in my opinion, it is not. It's like giving an opportunity to you that do you want to go ahead with it or not. It's simple. Reconciliation does not mean you have to accept it. So I will not take that. It's just that reconciliation, even in litigation, even in bitter divorce battles where there is a child custody case, as good lawyers, our first objective, believe me, a good lawyer is not one who gets the highest, biggest cases and makes the maximum money. I think a good lawyer is one who ensures that his client, and usually they act in the best interest of the client. Okay, so even if you go into litigation, go into any kind of action, at the end of it, a judge or an ICC committee will finally pass a judgment, okay, based on the facts in an unbiased manner as per law, right? So what is happening is everybody wants that. Would you want to? Is there a reconciliation available to start with? Okay, we say that also. There, somebody comes to me for a divorce case. I will first of all ask them, can I help you try to settle it if it's okay? If the differences are can be reconciled, would you want to consider it? Obviously, if they say no, we go ahead with it. But if they say yes, there is an option, because if, let's say, if there's a child custody matter also in a divorce matter, right? Then we will have to look at all these issues. So similarly, in a POSH, just because there is a reconciliation possibility does not mean that it is diluting the act at all. It is a very powerful act. Yes, the person who's been aggrieved, the woman, has to take a stand that no, there is no question of any reconciliation. I will file that a complaint, and the complaint, okay, we have a separate section actually on POSH if somebody wants to, as a trainer. So it should be in writing. It should be very clear how you make a complaint. Verbal complaints really have very less chances of seeing success. So make a formal written complaint, include all the facts, provide evidences, and you don't have to go in for any reconciliation if you don't want to. And besides Posche Act, you can still be filing a complaint outside. An FIR could be lodged as well, or a complaint outside in the police station. Also, besides taking action through POSH. Okay, so both the remedies are available, and the person who has done something wrong, even if he leaves the organization and resigns and moves away, will still be called in, and POSH Act is still applicable on him. Even if you have resigned, you can still take action. So both these things are available. Yes, I hope I have answered.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Any more questions?
Does anyone have any more questions?
Okay. I think time-wise also we pretty much okay. It's already 30, so we have pretty much time. Okay. So uh, questions can come in. So basically, again, coming back to it, one has to be careful as to how we behave in schools and colleges, at workplace, in public places. And my thoughts are that both men and women should be careful when they conduct themselves physically when they are around people, and definitely much more when it is in cyberspace. Thinking that we will make a false identity. That is what has been happening in this case also and many other cases. People just think, "Oh, I'll make a fake ID." First of all, it's a crime to do that under the IT Act. Okay, making fake IDs, you think you will get away with it? Absolutely wrong. You will get caught. Making a fake FB account, fake accounts, using fictitious email IDs, hacking into other people's IDs. Clearly, you are blatantly violating rules. Okay, and the penalties are very, very severe, as I briefly mentioned, anywhere from 3 months, 6 months to 5 years, 7 years, depending on what you do. So don't take it lightly. It could mess up somebody's career and somebody's life completely. So just because you're physically not there, people feel that, oh, they could be hiding somewhere in some village and they just have an internet connection and they've got somebody's mobile SIM they've stolen or they've got, and they may feel that nobody can track them, but actually it is very, very fast to catch somebody who is violating the law in the IT Act. Okay. Any more final questions, or otherwise we can close for the day?
There's one last question. Most of the time, nobody thinks that such conversations could go this much drastic in future, whether divorce, posh, or any such matter, over social media conversation, which are deleted in past, could be retrieved.
Yes.
So basically, the question just talks about whether there can be retrieval of conversations.
Yeah, obviously, see, you could be deleting your conversations. Like when I'm talking to somebody, there are like, I keep deleting my chat because it's taking too much space. There are pictures coming in, jokes coming in, but the other person may not be deleting and could be storing. And it could also be, yes, there are technologies where, depending if that information may still be available on servers, so you think you have deleted it, but technology is changing so rapidly. So your thinking that you have deleted from your phone or from your device does not mean it has. Usually, it is somewhere on the system, whether it is Facebook, whether it is WhatsApp, whether it is email. Probably it is there on some server somewhere. So first of all, that is where I'm saying, don't be casual about these things. Okay, you think that it is very private, but it is not. The moment you're going into cyberspace, anything by email, by SMS, whatever, any mode of communication, I think one has to be very cautious. Okay, like you'll be very cautious when you are speaking or acting in front of people, okay, in front of strangers. But I think that is where the point which we miss out, that the moment we are putting anything on any social media, it is just open to, and if you really want to do that, first of all, read the rules and regulations which govern you on that platform. Tell me how many of you have read the contract on Facebook when you set up your account, or on even Gmail and Google or any of these other platforms. You'll be surprised. You will all delete your accounts if you actually read them and say, I agree to them, because they are so one sided. You're giving away all your information, all your rights, everything to that platform, which in any case is a separate issue. I don't want to spend too much time on it. That because they have a monopoly over those, because we don't have a choice. There is only one Facebook, there is only one Twitter, there is only one WhatsApp, and there is no alternative at times. So whatever rules they have, either take it or leave it kind of a situation, right? So they can be challenged also, and they have been challenged. Okay, but be careful on what we are agreeing to. But if you're already agreeing to that, yes, my information can be shared, then don't post pictures, don't get into those kind of conversations casually. Assume that other people will have access to it, and then you will act in a more responsible manner. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the answer.
Great. So, final, I think, thanks so much to all of you. What I would leave you with is that I've prepared a lot of information on this. I could barely touch upon 10% in this 1.5 hours time. So, all those we will provide a Google link or a form. You fill that up, simple form, and you will have access to all this information. There is really, really very good updated information with latest case laws. All the Bear Acts are there, all the written materials, PPTs. There are 2, 3 PPTs you will have access to, and some really good material on cyber law, on IT Act also. So I hope you will find it useful also, because it's current, it's updated in 2020, and I hope you will all kind of get inspired to specialize in cyber law in future. Take it as a serious option with great opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much once again for. Thank you so much, sir, once again for speaking on cyber law, POSH, giving us insight and inspiring us to actually, go and take up this field which is really emerging, and telling us ways where we can protect ourselves. It was really wonderful listening to you. It was really inspiring to see how we can, get into the field and become such amazing lawyers like you are.
No, all of you have great opportunities. So, and then don't wait for you to complete your 3-year and 5-year courses. Think that you've already qualified. You should start thinking on those lines and go out of your way, because all this information is available. You don't have to wait for your college professors to teach you these things. Take the initiative, attend these forums, and I'm more than happy to, guide you. And anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to give at least 20% or 30% of my time to mentor students. Join up with SFLRE also, this Law Society. So we have mentorship programs on career counseling also, and various other webinars are being conducted also. So please be part of whatever I'm doing, and I'll be more than happy to help each and every one of you. Contact me offline, online, and thank you so much for all your time. And I really want to thank your university as well, and Yashi in particular, for organizing and coordinating this webinar. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir.
Take care, stay at home, and stay safe.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.